Welcome in to the Building the Pride podcast. I am your host, Drew, running solo today because my co host, Mike, has decided to go up to Big Rapids for some reason. Undetermined. TBD. So you just get me tonight. So let's talk about the Lions, shall we? Lions went out to week 10, went out to SoFi in Los Angeles, played the Chargers, and I thought played pretty well. Certainly did on offense, at least. And took the game right down to the wire and got the ball last. And went right down the field, got in position to kick a game-winning field goal, salted the game away, kicked the field goal, got the victory. So kind of reminiscent of when Matt was the quarterback. A lot of those types of things, a lot of those situations. Kind of how we were used to winning the games that we won. And they got the job done. So we're going to do some, I don't know that we're going to do any news and notes around the NFL today. There wasn't much in the way of news that I saw since the game. Patriots cut some second-year cornerback, and Las Vegas picked them up. Was kind of hoping that he might make it through waivers and then come and sign in Detroit, but it's not the way it worked out. They cut David Agzibo, I believe his name is, like fifth string running back from the practice squad. I think they did that so they could free up a roster spot to sign our current long snapper, Jack McQuaid. So kind of a news and note there. And what else? Not much. So, excuse me one second. You're going to have to bear with me tonight. I've caught a cold and voice is a little raspy. And my man, Dollar Store, Brad Holmes strikes against. Bruce Irvin is a Lion? No, that's not true. Is it? Hang on. I'm going to go to ESPN and see if I can confirm that. Don Burr. Raiders claim. Where are you seeing that, Don? Let's see. Going through great content here. Watching man scroll the internet as he's trying to do a live podcast. So I'm on Twitter right now. Can't see anything that would indicate that they signed Bruce Irvin. But anyways, maybe you're just too quick off the gun and Twitter hasn't caught up quite yet. So who the heck is Bruce Irvin? Bruce Irvin was a pass rusher, I believe, from West Virginia. I believe he went and played his ball at West Virginia. And he was, I believe, drafted by the Raiders right when their former coach or former guy, Al Davis, 36-year-old granddaddy Bruce Smith. Go to Pride of Detroit has it? Okay. I'll have to check that out, Don. That'd be a very interesting signing. And he was kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say too small to be like a traditional pass rusher, but he was like a missile. Like he could just get off the line, and his get off was just amazing. And so I believe the Raiders took him, and he didn't work out the way that they wanted to. And then he got cut and kind of bounced around the NFL. And I believe he ended up in Seattle, where he had some success, like in the Legion of Boom days, I believe it was, on or maybe just after that. Bryce Irvin. Oh no, Bruce. Sorry. So if the Lions have signed Bruce Irvin, it's for a rotational pass rush kind of role. I'm assuming opposite Aiden Hutchinson, which would be interesting because if they signed him, who'd they cut? And then Charles Harris, Romeo Okwara, Julian Okwara, Is James Houston back on the team from his injury stint? So it seems like there's a bunch of guys that you could get snaps out of at that particular position. So if that's true, that'd be real interesting. So thanks, Don. Good note. We've got Donkey Kong in chat. Super Bowl or bust. Well, the Super Bowl part is looking more and more realistic, as far as I'm concerned. The Lions are now 7-2, and only behind the Eagles, I believe, in record. I think the Eagles are 8-1, and then both the Lions and the Chiefs are 7-2. And if Detroit can shopping clearance at the dollar store, yeah, but and maybe he's, if Don's right, maybe he's a 10 snap a game guy, right? And if that's the case and he plays well in those 10 snaps, then you've got at least one more guy that can, help you out on certain packages. The Lions, for as well as they played this last week, they gave up 38 points, to the Chargers. And that's a lot. And it came down, it was one of those games where, who's going to have the ball last, basically. And I'm going to go to see if I can't bring up the game here and get some of the stats on what what I really want is the box score, and I don't know how to get that here. Anyways, they didn't have. I mean, anytime that LA had the ball, it seemed like they were going to march right down the field and score. And every time the Lions had the ball, it felt exactly the same way. So it ended up being that kind of who has the ball last type of game. This is not what I want. I want the team stats. Here we go. Team stats. Total yards. Detroit, 533 yards of offense. But they gave up 421 to the Chargers. The Lions won the turnover battle. Penalties were just about the same. Time of possession was just about the same. Lions went for it on fourth down, I think 4 or 5 times, and they converted all but one of them. It's pretty amazing, especially the 4th down and 5, where they ran the ball. They just ran a running play. So, Hefe KC is in the chat. Hey, Hefe, Chiefs. Who did the Chiefs were on their bye week this week? I think so. I can't remember who they played if they did. And if they did sign Bruce Irvin, like that's an interesting. Oh, it is a joke. Oh, on their bye week. Okay. So, if they sign Bruce Irvin, it's probably because they gave up over 400 yards on defense, this week. So it's that's pretty crazy. I'm glad they won. Dan was really aggressive with his 4th down calls, and they largely worked out. I mean, the one that didn't work out, put the Chargers with a 99-yard field, to go, and they didn't convert and had to punt from inside their own 10. So, I mean, it would have been nice to get points, but it's effectively a dead drive for them. So what do you guys think about the game? Were you happy with the way the game played out? Like, does the way that they won this game give you any hope for if we get into the playoffs and we face like a really high-powered offense, we know that we can go toe-to-toe with them? Or are you concerned about the defense now, not being able to get stops? So, yeah, JPP signing with the Saints, right? Yeah, that would have been a nice signing, I think, on the other side of Hutch. Bills fired Ken Dorsey. Would you guys want him? Here's what I'll say about the Ken Dorsey firing. The number one concern of mine for the Lions heading into the offseason is what happens with Ben Johnson? And we've talked about this a number of times. But like, if the Bears end up with either Carolina's pick or their own pick being the number one overall, um, and you said, "Hey, Ben Johnson, come to Chicago. We've got 2 top 5 picks. You can have your choice of quarterback and one other player, Marvin Harrison Jr., Olu Fashionow, whoever it might be." That could be very enticing if you get if you can coach Caleb Williams or Drake May for for 4 years, and get that would be interesting. The other thing that might be interesting for Ben Johnson is we just played the Chargers, and Brandon Staley looks like he's probably on his way out as the head coach, and you've already paid Justin Herbert all this money. If you bring in a coach like Ben Johnson and pair him with Justin Herbert, I mean, that sounds like a pretty good scenario if you're Ben Johnson. So, I mean, can the Lions retain? I think it's probably tough. So, my thought is, to answer Hefe's question, if there's a guy like Ken Dorsey out there who, let's be real. I've seen the Chiefs the Bills stats with Ken Dorsey, and then with the last however many games of Brian Daboll, the win-loss record is identical or real close, but the efficiency numbers are way higher with Ken Dorsey. So if you wanted to do what I think Detroit wants to do, which is to play a really, really efficient ball secure type of offense, I don't mind bringing in a Ken Dorsey, especially if he's going to work well with Campbell and Holmes. So, but I think that we should be keeping an eye on other people that might want to have the OC job in Detroit, because I just can't imagine that Ben Johnson is the OC next year. It just seems like there's too many decent opportunities kind of shaping up in the NFL, and he's put himself every week. He does something interesting on offense that makes everyone seem at least in NFL media, sit up and say, "Oh my gosh, what is Ben Johnson doing in Detroit?" The dude's just got too much positive press. Oh, so good. So they got the win. They're 7-2. I see somebody wasn't thrilled with AG. Donkey AG sucks, but great win. So I just wonder if this was the kind of game that we've seen where Aleem McNeil gets a sack, Anzalone gets a sack, Charles Harris gets a sack, Romeo Okwara gets a sack, and Hutch gets shut out again because he's got double and triple teams and they're running the plays away from him. If this game had gone like that, and they maybe they score, maybe they get 300 yards of offense or whatever, are we still saying the same thing? Or is it just every time that the Lions defense doesn't perform to a level that we like, are we going to say Aaron Glenn sucks? I don't know. I don't think the defense is finished yet. I think there's a couple of spots in the secondary that we need an opposing pass rusher across from Aiden Hutchinson. And Ancelone's playing better than I thought he could play. But also, Jack Campbell hasn't peaked yet, right? So could be real interesting. I'm going to do one more quick search here for the Bruce Irvin news. Just so I can get on that bandwagon. Well, if it's not going to be on Twitter, it's going to be on Facebook, right? So let's just go to Facebook real quick. I am not seeing anything anywhere about Bruce Irvin signing with the Lions. So at this point, I'm going to call that TBD, I suppose, because I can't find anything that at some point the culture has to take on a life of its own. Oh, that okay, let's talk about Texas A&M here real quick. I firmly believe that there are college coaches and there are NFL coaches. Texas A&M is not what is the fun thing about Texas A&M? Like why is that college prestigious enough to try and pull a big name coach? Like the only thing I think that they have going for them is that they were, they'll pay out the nose. So I mean, I don't think Dan is what? Dan got the 6-year deal, so this is year 3 of 6 on his deal. Like, I mean, he might be able I mean, if they make the playoffs or whatever, he might be able to go to ownership and say, my name's getting floated around for other coaching gigs. Like, can we get a pay raise? But like, and he does seem like the kind of guy that would do well coaching in college, like a player's coach. Like guys want to play for him. So I think that he would probably do pretty well there. But like you are starting all over. It is a completely different set of rules as far as like player acquisition is concerned. And the university is going to help you with that. But to me, it would be like he just wants a payday. And to be honest, like I don't know that he's too far away from if he has one more year of this kind of success, like I don't know that he's too far away from being one of the highest paid coaches in the NFL. I mean, he's got the personality, the players like him, he's producing results. Definitely on Pride of Detroit. Okay. I'm not casting shade, Don. I just said I couldn't. I mean, like, I believe you. I couldn't put my eyes on it. So I'll have to go to their site at some point here. I don't think that he's going to leave the Lions unless the Lions want him to leave. So I would be very, very surprised. I mean, like, and I know these colleges make a ton of money, but like, they're still paying like Kevin Sumner, and now they're paying Jimbo Fisher. And I saw something like they've got $85 million they're paying to head coaches that aren't on their team anymore. I mean, and like if you're going to attract a name, and Dan Campbell is a name now, you're going to have to pay out tens of millions of dollars more. So I just don't see it. Could happen though. I mean, I've been wrong before. Dan Campbell only makes $4 million a year. Reward him after the season, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, head coach money doesn't go on the salary cap. I mean, Dan would certainly have demonstrated that like his plan is working. Like his players are buying into what he's asking them to do. He's generated a ton of positive press for the Detroit Lions in the in the 2.5 years that he's been here. Yeah, I said he's absolutely in line for a contract renegotiation. And just considering how, I mean, like we're not in the room for by any stretch of the imagination, but like considering how well Sheila, Brad, and Dan seem to work together, it would seem like this would just get done quick. Even if it was like, I don't know how much the highest paid head coach in the NFL makes, but it's probably a little more than twice that. It's probably something like 10 or 11 a year, right? So I think you could put Dan in for 8 easy, but he's got 3 years left on the deal. So I don't know if you're going to add extra years onto it. I don't have any qualms about this guy being the coach in Detroit for the long haul. This seems like a excellent head coach. So when I was reading an article on Pro Football Focus today about his fourth down decision making, and basically what it said is that Dan Campbell is the most aggressive fourth down play caller in the NFL. Like there's models for everything now, right? Like statistical models, like it's appropriate to go for a 2-point conversion in this situation or not. It's appropriate to go for it on fourth down in this situation or not. So, and what the article basically broke down was that like Dan Campbell's probably just going to go for it. Like they're probably calling plays during the game, designed to put them like, oh, if we're in 4th and 1, we're just gonna do this. So, I mean I believe that 4th down and 5 against the Chargers was in their own territory, and they just straight up called a run play. I mean, it was crazy. So, we might do a little shorter podcast or podcast tonight, stream tonight. My voice is might go at some point. So, but I thought that everybody played pretty well. I mean, I didn't call out anybody for wear a diaper. Yeah, because you're gonna shit your pants, basically. Yeah. As long as all that stuff is working out for him, he's gonna be a hero. But like if he goes for it on 4th and 1 and they don't get it, and like that's the deciding factor in the game, like that narrative will flip real quickly, in the press. So, which is unfortunate, but that is the way I think that stuff is going to play out. So, we got a new comment. Let's see. Oh, can you guys tell that I'm like beat up? So my plan for tonight was talk a little bit about the Chargers game, talk a little bit about Campbell, and then do a mock draft, like a real quick mock draft. We haven't done one yet this year. We're through week 10. We kind of know what the holes on the team are. Maybe we could just start paying attention to some names that might be there. Let's just do that real quick. Why not? I like mock drafts. Might be too early for some of you guys, but I think they're fun. We'll do a quick 3-rounder. How about that? Mike is usually the one running the show here. So there it is. We'll do that one. Okay. I hope you guys can see this. I'll make it bigger since I'm always yelling at Mike to do that. Okay. So Detroit 7-2, the only teams in the NFL that have similar records or better records are the Chiefs and the Eagles. So the Lions, if the draft were today, the Lions would be picking 30th. So we're going to do a quick 3-round mock draft just for the Lions. We'll just jump into it. So we're just going to hit start. Go through some of these, and we can talk about players or positions. So the Lions in 3 rounds have 4 picks. They're all going to be at the end of the rounds, obviously. So right now, some of the needs on the team are PFF has them as guard, center, defensive line, and corner. I don't agree with center at all. I would say wide receiver is, I think, a need. Like, we don't really know about JMO. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a stud. Laporta appears to be a stud. And then you have guys. You have Josh Reynolds, fine wide receiver. Don't want him to go anywhere, but like Marvin Jones, retired, I guess. And there was a hole on the roster, and Khalif Raymond got paid, and so he's gonna be on the team for the next year or two. But I do think that you could add another wide receiver and the Lions offense just gets that much better. But corner is also a position that I think that the Lions are hurting. Like Cam Sutton, I think was a fine signing. Certainly like an NFL pro. I like it quite a bit. But I think you could add some talent. So we'll just draft Kalen King here from Penn State to add somebody on the other side, outside on the X. So like hopefully next year the secondary would look something like Kirby Joseph, Chauncey Gardner Johnson, Brian Branch, Cam Sutton, and King. And then I think you're getting pretty close to having a competent starting group. What do we do with Jonah Jackson? They're probably going to re-sign him. Probably going to be a big contract. I know they put Vitae on IR again, so it looks like his term in Detroit's probably getting close to being over. I would just re-sign Grant Glasgow to like a 3-year contract, and then draft some kid to be like us, like an interior backup, that type of thing. So we got some choices here. Got some Michigan running backs. I don't really need a running back. So we're just going to go down and pick one of my guys that I really like for the Lions, and that's Troy Franklin, wide receiver from Oregon. I think that would be a nice. He's like 6'2", 200, runs really nice routes. I think he'd be a nice compliment to the Laportas, St. Browns of the world. If JMO takes another step forward, I think that would just be great. They on the D line, I don't really know what to do because Ali McNeil is very clearly like a second contract guy. We drafted Broderick Martin, even though he has played very little so far. And I can't, if you guys are talking to me, I can't see you, unfortunately. So I apologize if I'm not responding to like questions or comments. And you've got Kaminsky, which plays on the inside primarily. Isaiah Buggs, who I think is somebody that I would want to stick around. Like Benito Jones is there. So I'm just going to take McKinley Jackson from the aforementioned Texas A&M, and then I'll just take Zach Frazier as an interior offensive lineman with their last pick. So we'll just do like a really quick little mock draft here. And so they didn't like my wide receiver pick. That's understandable. But like Jackson, Kalen King, solid. You got an interior lineman. Let me catch up to here. Dan Campbell makes where did we leave off? Drew, this is Detroit. We're used to week 5 mock draft seasons. We're doing a mock draft. Hell yes, says Donkey Kong. Thank you guys. Oh, you guys are so supportive. Rome Odunze from Washington. I love that guy. I think that guy is fantastic. If he was the Lions' X wide receiver, how would you? I mean, I would love it if like week 1 of the 2024 season, the Detroit Lions trot off their offense onto the field, and it's Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Rome Odunze, Gibbs, or Montgomery in the backfield. I mean, that would look as complete, like as complete of an offense as I think that you can have in the NFL currently. I think it's just great. But let me ask you guys this. I know there's only a couple people still in chat right now, but like, I think cornerback, wide receiver, interior offensive lineman, and I would say edge, like getting someone on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson that worries opposing quarterbacks, are like the 4 positions that I would be looking to add to the team in the offseason. Is there any other position that you guys think, boy, it'd be really nice if you could get a guy at this, a guy that can do that, a guy that you could stick in here. What do you guys think about it? Just let me know. So, and while you are thinking, I'm just going to reload this. I'm just going to reload this mock draft here again. Where we go? Oh, new mock draft right there. Boom. Okay, so we'll slow the speed down. We'll try and pick different players this time, okay? Just kind of we'll get like a different taste of what's going on. So Caleb Williams, Drake May, they go to the top. Let's see. So Dunze right now, it looks like he's going like 10th, somewhere between like 10 and 15. That would be an awesome pick. Okay. Let's take Amika Egbuka. Not really sure how you pronounce his last name. This guy has been a really good wide receiver for the Buckeyes. 6'1", 206. Primarily a slot guy, but I think that's just like where the best players in. I mean, you can't play outside as much. You got Marvin Harrison Jr. there. So, I mean, like Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to, likely to be like an all pro if people are guessing correctly here. Okay, so we picked a wide receiver. What would you guys say about taking like another quarterback? So let's say like Teddy Bridgewater signed somewhere else in the offseason. You've got Goff on the last year of his deal. I'm not going to speculate on whether or not he gets an extension. You've got Hendon Hooker. At some point this season, he'll probably be able to take part in like practices, hopefully going at full speed, and they can start to like develop him. But would you guys take like another guy? I mean, like, what if we took Quinn Ewers here just to like, okay, we're going to have Hendon Hooker and Ewers battle for the backup quarterback position. And then like we can, like they have Goff. You could even extend Goff like a year or two. Okay, I'm just going to take this linebacker from Clemson, who I've heard just great things about, because they don't seem to want to play Rodriguez much. In fact, he's playing more fullback than he is linebacker, and he's of course on special teams. And then let's just take another corner. But Derek Barnes, I believe his 2021, so that's a lot of A's and B's. So CB, D line, interior offensive line. So Donkey Kong, so when you say interior offensive line twice, is that like you saying that you think we need like a starter at guard and then a backup guard? Or do you think, because Frank Ragnow is signed through 2026. So, or are you anticipating like Jonah Jackson like leaving in the offseason? Because I kind of agree with you. Like, say they release Vitae. Like the guys on the roster that I kind of want to be replaced are like the Dan Skippers. You don't see Jonah coming back. Interesting. So do you think that he's just going to like test free agency and that the Lions would not match the kind of contract that he might receive in free agency? That's got to be it, right? Let me stop sharing my screen so you guys can see my gorgeous face. There it is. Let's see. Let's go to over the cap real quick. And let's see if we can find tag and tender projection. So 2024 offensive line tag for the transition tag, so the cheaper tag, would be just under 21 million. So I don't think that you can, because they lump centers and guards and tackles all together when coming up with that tag, which is just so dumb. It makes tackles cheaper, but it makes guards and centers like effectively not able to be tagged. Can't pay top dollar across the entire O line. Well, let's take a look. So let's take a look. Let's see what Taylor Decker costs in 2024. Taylor Decker is going to cost 19.1. Ragnow will cost 12.8. This is cap against the cap. Penei Sewell is 7.6. Vitae is still on the. That's got to be a void year. Yeah. So Vitae will be paying Vitae money, but he'll be off the team. Let's see. So your three core guys we're going to say 19 plus 12 is 31. We'll round up to say 32. And then Penny's going to cost you 8. So we're going to say that's 40 million across three guys, right? So let's take a look at the top guards. He plays left guard, right? So the highest paid left guards in the NFL right now are per year Quentin Nelson at 20, Elton Jenkins at 17, Batonio at 16, and Tooney at 16. So let's assume he's going to want north of 16 million. That's not all going to count against the cap in the first year. But like we would effectively say we would be paying $55 million, let's call it, for the O-line in Detroit. So as long as you don't extend Goff, I think that you can basically pay anybody whatever you want. Because remember, the new TV money kicks in next year, and the salary cap is going to go up by, I think it went up 18 this last year, and I think it's supposed to go up something like 24, 25 million next year. So like you can just fit Jonah in the cap just because the cap goes up. I'm not saying that that's the best move. Like I do think that guards are one of those things that you can go out on the free agent market and just pick up. Graham Glasgow being a perfect example. Like I don't even know what we're paying him this year. It's like $3 million. Dead air. Drew was great at producing the dead air. We're paying him 2.6 this year. And then his contract voids next year. But like, if you said, hey, Graham, we'll give you, let's say they give him Alex Anzalone's contract from this last year. We'll give you $6 million a year for the next 3 years, 18 million total. Get a different guard, save some money. I like it, to be honest. Like, I like that approach. Like, if you wanted to go into, I mean, we didn't really look at the guards that are going to be available, but the Lions have two second-round picks in this upcoming class, or maybe 2 third-round picks. So between the second and third round, even if you don't make any trades up or down, like you would be able to get one of the better guards in this class on a cost-controlled contract. And yeah, you're right. Like we're going to have to pay Penei Sewell, and like Decker, you're going to have to make a decision on Decker here in the next couple of years. But like, if they're going to pay, if Goff gets something like 3 years, 135 or 3 years, 150, something like that. I mean, that's a real possibility with the way that he's playing now. I wouldn't do it until I saw him play under a new OC. You guys know how I feel about Goff. Like he's playing the best football of his career this year. And I still don't think that, like, if it gets to the playoffs, I think a more dynamic quarterback, Jalen Hurts, not Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy I don't think is more dynamic than Jared Goff, but like, especially the guys in the ACC because they're so loaded, would give the Lions a lot of trouble. So, and if they don't spend that money on extending Goff, then you can pay Jonah Jackson a bunch of money. Don't know that it's the smart play, but like I am almost to the point where I will not guess what Brad Holmes is going to do. Like for every move that I praise, there's another one that I'm just like, I don't understand this at all. So he's clearly marching to his own drum. I don't really know what that drum is at this point. He's getting results, so hard to argue against it. But I don't know that it's the most like cost-effective move. So let's see. I'm going to check one more time for. Let's go to Pride of Detroit and see what they say about Bruce Irvin. Well, Jeremy Reisman, who is a pretty reliable source, says that they are signing some 36-year-old Bruce Irvin. They are making a move potentially bolster their pass rush, according to a report from Tom Pelissero. The Lions, from the NFL Network, the Lions are signing 36-year-old veteran pass rusher Bruce Irvin. Irvin will start with the team on the practice squad. The Lions have an available spot because they put Vitae on injured reserve this week. The Lions have struggled to produce a consistent pass rush this season, racking up sacks in the NFL, tied for 21st in the league. Of course, Aiden's been great, but then you've got Okwara, Harris, Kaminsky, Pascal, and other Okwara that are just, 5 guys trying to make up the work of one additional player is a big ask, So and you're not going to get, I don't think, too many elite pass rushers if you're picking like late 20s, and the Lions are certainly, it appears to be heading for a draft pick in the late 20s. All right. So that's enough about that. Let's talk a little bit about what we got coming up here. So we've got the Bears coming up this coming Sunday, I believe. Let's confirm that. Versus Bears at home, 1:00 on Fox on the 19th. So it looks like Justin Fields is on pace to play. The Bears injury report for, Tuesday is guard Nate Davis, questionable, Tremaine Edmonds, questionable, Fields, questionable. And then we've got Onwuzurike and Donovan Peoples-Jones as questionable. So, I mean, like, basically the Lions are healthy. So they have the Bears at home. I would rather play against Tyson Bagent than I would against Justin Fields. But this just feels like the kind of, like, even though they traded for Montez Sweat, this just feels like the kind of game where it's like they're just going to run the ball down the Bears' throats and just dare the Bears to stop them. And then if that works at all, which the Lions have run the ball all over people all year. Let's just take a look at the stats really quick. Like, where are the Lions as far as like team rushing? Team stats total. They're 4th in the NFL. They've rushed for 1,251 yards. They're averaging 139 yards of rushing a game. So if the Lions go out and rush for 140 yards against the Bears, I just don't think that there's any way the Bears can win. So I mean, I think it makes a lot. I think it's very likely the Lions go out and they're 8-2 heading into the Thanksgiving Day game against the Packers. And I still think that it looks like, they're going to be 9-2 after Thanksgiving. And if they can get to 9-2 after Thanksgiving, they're going to have a 10-day rest. And then let's back this up here and see what they've got after Thanksgiving. So so they have if you beat the Bears and you beat the Packers, then you've got 10 days, and then you travel to New Orleans to play the Saints. So, I mean, it looks really good. I mean, the schedule is shaping up to be really good. Maybe it's a good time to be good in the NFC right now. So, I think that run the ball effectively. I worry about them like trying to cover DJ Moore like an elite wide receiver, which I do think DJ Moore is. But I don't know that. I mean, the weak link there is that the quarterback has got to get DJ Moore the ball. We don't know who's playing quarterback for them yet. I would just plan on it being Justin Fields. And if not, then you should be okay. But this just feels like a game where the Lions are going to win the game on the lines. Their offensive line is going to make the running game go, and therefore, like, the play action passing game is going to be fine. And if the Lions get a lead, I just don't think the Bears are equipped to come back. So what do you guys think? I've only got one person in the chat with me still viewing the stream here. So it's been a big day, like Lions took care of the Chargers this weekend. They signed Bruce Irvin. Hatter's house. No way, man. What's up? How you doing, man? Did you watch the game? What's going on with you? So you got the Bears coming up. Then, of course, you got a quick turnaround at Thanksgiving. Vitai's back on injured reserve. Donovan Peoples-Jones has yet to play. Oh, you were at the game. Were there a lot of Lions fans there? It looked like it on TV. Like, where were you sitting? AG can give up a big lead. That's true. I will say that, like, ooh, nice. 50-50 on the road. That's fantastic. I will say, like, if Justin Fields is playing, like, he's the more dangerous quarterback, but he's also the kind of quarterback that holds the ball for forever. And that usually leads to sacks. Front row of one of the private upper. Oh, okay, man. That's got to be cool. It feels like the kind of game where, like, Aiden's gonna get pressure, flush out Fields, and then, like, Anzalone gets a sack, or McNeil brings him down for no gain, or something like that. So it could just be a rout. I have a hard time predicting that, but I feel like it could just be like a rout. So hopefully it is. Every win matters. And I'll take all the wins up front, like it doesn't make any sense to me to, like, oh, we can give this one back. So, like, the rest of the schedule, we go Bears at home, Packers at home, we go to New Orleans, then we go to the Chicago Bears, then you get Denver at home, you go to the Vikings, at the Cowboys, Vikings at home. So, like, just looking at this right now, the only games I think that the Lions have much of a chance to lose, maybe going to the Saints, maybe going to the Cowboys. Say they lose those two games, they're 13-4 at the end of the season. One to the Vikings and one to the Cowboys. Okay, sure, yeah. So the only reason I think that like the Vikings thing is probably going to be a win is that like I know that Josh Dobbs is playing well right now, but like I have a hard time believing that a Minnesota squad led by Josh Dobbs is going to beat the Lions at all, you know. But it's possible. So Hatter's house has got the Lions beating the Saints. I think that the Lions could, I don't think it's likely, but I think that they could lose to the Saints in New Orleans. But like if the Lions finish the season like 12, 13 wins, like you got to be in line for home field, you know, in the playoffs. So let me just take a real quick look at like what the playoff picture looks like right now in the NFL. Playoff matchup. So like if the playoffs were today, the Lions would get the 7th seed because they're in the number 2 spot and they would play Minnesota, which would be great. But the playoff teams in the NFL right now in the NFC would be Philly getting the bye, Minnesota versus Detroit, Dallas and San Francisco, which would be the best thing for Detroit. Is that if one of those teams gets knocked out, and then Seattle playing New Orleans. So if this is the case, Detroit would have played New Orleans, Seattle, Dallas, and Minnesota this season. And then that should help them, you know, in the second round of the playoffs, hopefully. So 14-3, 15-2. Yeah, that would be really great. You know, there is the possibility they just win out, you know. So okay, guys, I'm going to stop the podcast here. I can tell my voice is going a little bit. You guys were great tonight. Thank you for the comments and questions in the chat. We did a couple real quick mock drafts, just trying to start to look at like where the Lions might be looking to address the roster come the draft, and maybe just start getting familiar with some names. You know, some non-household names that we might think would fit well with the Lions. Okay. So really appreciate you guys coming out tonight. Just because Mike isn't here, I'll say like, comment, and subscribe. We are I believe we're sitting at 87 subscribers. Let me just check. 87. Yep, we're still at 87. And if we get to 100, Mike and I will call a game live because we've had a little bit of interest in doing that. So see you at Hatter's house. Have a good night, man. If we can get to 100 subscribers, that would kind of be just like a dream come true for me personally, because I never thought I'd have any kind of YouTube channel that had 100 people that subscribe to it, you know. And so like, and you guys are of course the core of that group. You guys are here talking, sharing your thoughts, talking Lions stuff. And Mike didn't set up this particular broadcast, so we're not going to have the link to the Discord channel. But if you go back to one of our previous episodes, we've got the link to the Discord channel in there. We'd love to see you guys come and hang out in the Discord with us. And hopefully we're back here next Tuesday at 7:00 Eastern, talking about how the Lions beat up the Chicago Bears. So thank you very much. Have a great night, everybody.